Are Maneaters and Ogre Pistols any good? So this is partly an Ogre Kingdoms side story. This is also an Aranessa Assault Spite diversion, because her faction can recruit both types of Maneaters from Tier 3 ports anywhere on the map. It's completely unrelated to the actual Ogre Kingdoms, Ogre Camps, or anything of the sort. So, counterintuitively, it's very important to look over how these units are without upgrades, because at present, that's the only way Aranessa gets to use them. The Maneaters are recruited for 1200 gold with an upkeep of an even 300 gold per turn. On Ultra, this gets you 16 entities with 9280 health between them, or 580 per entity, Minotaur range. Armor is 40, leadership is an amazingly high 80, speed is 54, charge speed is 85. Melee attack is 40 base, with an attack interval of a slightly speedy 3.8 with a medium splash target size, so cavalry will be included in splash, and the maximum of 3 entities damage per splash. Melee defense is 42, therefore 2 points higher than melee attack. Weapon strength is 110, split between 33 base and 77 armor piercing, absolutely identical to Minotaurs but without a specific bonus for target types. Charge bonus is 50 and mass is 1700. Now it's worth pausing for a moment to talk about Ogre Charge. In addition to features like Wall Breaker and immunity to psychology, these ogres lose only half their charge bonus from charging into a braced opponent, and I'm pretty sure they mean for charge bonus versus large in their case. I've seen this in my battles. So rather than whiffing and just body checking opponents for spectacular flight but minimal damage, ogres tend to do outsized damage on bracing units like spearmen and halberdiers. Maneaters count as siege attackers and inflict fear. Now let's take a look at the Ogre Pistols variant. Recruited for 1500 gold and 375 upkeep, all the statistics are completely and utterly identical until we get to the ranged weapon tacked on. So this is very important to explain. The Ogre Pistols are 100% Maneaters with 100% of the same melee attacks, the same damage, the same health, the same Ogre Charge, and Wall Breaker. They just have Ogre-sized pistols in addition to that melee prowess. So let's look at their ranged game. Ammunition is 20 base. Range is 140, so handgunner style range despite being quote-unquote pistols. Weapon damage is listed as 96, with each shot doing 38 base and 68 armor piercing per shot, but downgraded for reload time of 11. There is no explosive damage. Total accuracy is the standard 20, increasing with XP chevrons. Calibration distance is 100 meters and calibration area is 1 meter, which is super tight. So unless at the maximum range rather than 100 or less, the pistols will very much tend to hit targets they fire at, even if man-sized greatswords, as shown in this video. In fact, I used greatswords twice because you can compare. I'm not going to sit here and say the pistols will kill faster than the melee, because the melee is really impressive. But considering the armor piercing, as in the giant weakness of the pea-sized pistols used by the Humies, this flips the script completely if you're shooting at Chaos Chariots and Arachnarok Spider, though a little less if its pinpricks from the goblins are poisoning you, and just in general providing a balance that's difficult to find. More to the point, even if you're only firing 4 or 5 volleys in a battle, that's 4 or 5 volleys the melee variant will never, ever unleash. There is literally no downside except the higher cost, and it's not that much higher. Also, if that wasn't enough, the pistols are fire whilst moving weapons, so they can and will be fired just prior to belly flopping into a wall of shields. Maybe a shield will deflect the shot, and maybe it won't. I tried the regular Maneaters with Aranessa. It was good for research for this video that I did so. It was bad for my combat performance that I did so. Don't get me wrong, that armor piercing did its job, but I only had the finances for 3, and having those 3 be melee variants did me 0 favors in the actual fights. So Aranessa gets no upgrades for her ogres at present. We also have 0, zilch, nil, not indication. This will change in the future, or I should note that this is really a bug and not intended. So let's move on for now, back to her later. In the Redline skills, Best Eaters. Yes, ending with a Z or Z if you're Canadian, grants plus 6 melee attack and plus 6 melee defense to Maneaters. This is akin to what Empire Swordsman can get, and I raved about it back then because basic as the bonuses are, they're just really helpful and the value only rises as XP chevrons raise the base values further. They just become better at big brawling. Good times. Ravenous Fighters grants rank 7 Maneaters plus 7 melee attack, which is awesome, plus 10% weapon strength because hitting harder is awesome, and missile resistance 15% because being shot is a killjoy, and laughing at the enemy's missiles makes you feel even beefier about yourself. In the tech tree, Better Plunder grants plus 10 extra armor to Maneaters. That's all you get, that's specific to Maneaters. As I sometimes ask, what do you not see here? Anyone? You, the four eyes in the back row with the red triangle hat. Yes, you. What do you not? Missile strength, reload time reduction. Yes, there's nothing that makes the Ogre pistols better at shooting in this whatsoever. What you get right out of training camp is what you end with, aside from XP Chevron improvements. Thank you, you may sit down. Going back to Aranessa, this means that the Pirates of Sartosa really don't have any downside given the Ogre pistol variant aside from the cost, painful as the cost may be, but hey, they're recruited from the same building at the same tier, so there are no tech tree issues, only money. Moreover, while they don't have extra powder aplenty, you, the player, do have gunnery wights available, and they have passives to increase direct missile damage, like those of Ogre pistols, by 10%, and enchanted ballistics to raise accuracy and rate of fire, and a way to restock ammo, though the ammo is so plentiful and the firing time so relatively restrained, you won't tend to run out. Then you have Spiteful Shot available with the Lore of the Deeps for high accuracy and magical attack. Well, the latter might be useful in cases. The point being, you have options for the simple reason that unlike, let's say, Invocation of the Heck, the above don't require the ally to be undead at all. As for how you use Maneaters, well, the basic ones are melee troops, so what can you do? You just find the best target you can find and let them rip. They're armor-piercing enough that you don't need to be picky, though do understand that they are a lot less efficient killing heavily armored targets. That 33 base damage really adds up. Ogre Charge means you can afford to be cavalier and sporting. Frankly, the speed and charge bonus make them simple and joyful to use with a faction that has such a lack of true cavalry like Vampire Coast. Finally, your own units might get obstructed easily, but ogres do act as slaughtering anvils. And hey, magic doesn't care about obstruction, and will hurt the other side a lot more than the ogres in most cases. The Ogre pistols make things complicated, but in a good way. Against the right opponent, you can lazily maneuver them to where they can deliver potshots with complete impunity. You can even use them as skirmishers. I mean, 140 range is pretty good. You have to manually do the skirmishing, but oh well. Thus, you can use other parts of your roster to tank, while the Ogre pistols diminish the enemy, but you should never forget that all that gold value is because they're every tiny bit as good in melee as the other guys. See an opening to mess up a missile unit? Charge it. Blow through it. You'll even see them take potshots at point-blank range. Enemy flees? Potshots into the back. Turn to deal with the next target? Potshots in the flank, mid-charge, then crash in. Finally, in terms of army composition, well, with Ogre Kingdoms you're no doubt going to have a serious melee core, but Pirates of Sartosa have difficulty justifying a separate one if you're already splurging on Ogre Pistol Maneaters. It's like, why would you take the melee variant Sartosa Free Company when the Sartosa Militia can do 90% of what it does and shoot pistols? Pea-sized, extremely low armor piercing pistols, but still. So why not mix them? Ogre pistols plus Sartosa Militia plus zombie gunnery mob with handguns for support? Why have dedicated melee at all? Just hybrid. Well, there is a reason you can use anti-large, but you can still get away with the vast majority of your melee troops being able to shoot too. That creates opportunities for all kinds of pirate skullduggery, and I deeply regret not trying it harder during my first Aranessa campaign. Won't make that mistake twice. Take care, and have fun seasoning your future meals with lead.